Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I know this setup is a little different. I usually have my podcast mic, and for me, I usually have my teleprompter, which is sitting right there in the corner. But I felt compelled to read you guys something that I wrote on healing last week. And I was all ready to, share my video on reparenting, but I'm just going to post that video next week. And I want to share with you guys something that I wrote that I just called healing. I'm not the best at coming up with creative titles, but yeah, this is something that I wrote and I do feel compelled to share it. And yeah, here we go. It's on my phone, so I'm just reading from my phone because there's no way that I could have memorized this. Okay, so it's called healing. Sometimes it gets worse before it gets better. It's like you're starting to thaw out and you're feeling for the first time. You're like a baby giraffe trying to find their balance. You feel overwhelmed, uncomfortable, frustrated, and alone. You open your eyes for the first time and realize there are no filler people around you. There's nobody there but you. You're no longer numb to the world. You start to feel a range of emotions other than sadness or anxiety. You start to get frustrated and angry when you pour into someone and they don't even ask you how your day was. You're setting boundaries for the first time and you're uncomfortable because you know you're doing the right thing, but it feels weird. You stop writing the long email over-explaining yourself and you stop following someone on social media because you realize they're not who you want in your life. Your nervous system starts to panic. What if they ask me why I stopped following them? What if they think I'm being mean? You find yourself fighting feelings of guilt and the pressure to go back to old patterns of behavior. I want you to know this is very common. You're starting to unfreeze and you feel the chill. You're questioning motives, behavior, and you're feeling all sorts of emotions. You have all sorts of thoughts. The truth is, self-abandonment kept you safe while surviving your environment growing up. But it now prevents you from connecting with yourself. What you're experiencing is normal. Of course, you'll have wobbly giraffe legs because you're no longer self-abandoning. You're becoming attuned with yourself. You're like a baby who's learning how to crawl before they can walk. You're learning how to embody and embrace your true sense of self. Create emotional safety so you can fight the urge to rely on old patterns of behavior. Who cares if they get upset with you? Who cares if they don't want to be your friend? If someone treats you poorly because they no longer benefit from your self-neglect and self-abandonment, you're not losing a friend. You're gaining clarity and self-respect. Let them go so you can regain your sense of self and identity. Be the person you were always meant to be before trauma interrupted your life. So, I wrote this last week and I really wanted to share in some capacity. I don't know if I was going to make it into a short. I think I started off just writing it into a short, but I don't know. I just felt that it stood out to me. And I apologize if I'm rambling. This is how I am if I don't have a prompter in front of me. I say a lot of and yeah, so I'm a little nervous in front of the camera with a prompter, and without a prompter, I'm definitely very nervous. But I do want to share this with you guys because I've been a therapist for the past 9 years, helping adults heal from childhood wounds. And, I talk a little bit about my own personal experience of, being anxiously attached. And I have people who are really close to me who have also experienced, complex PTSD. They're on their healing journey. And it's challenging. And the part where I mentioned, just even writing an email over explaining yourself. And I was telling my family member, because this actually happened, and I said, you don't have to over explain yourself. And if they don't understand, if they get upset with you, then they're just showing you who they are. And I guess I just want to highlight that the healing journey, it's so rewarding, but it can be challenging at the same time. because you're sometimes you're just standing alone. You're standing by yourself and you feel like, oh my goodness, there's nobody around me. But then you realize that you never really had people, quality people around you. And for the first time in your life, you're just saying, I'm alone. I'm alone. But it doesn't have to be lonely, and setting boundaries can be challenging, especially, as you're getting older, you feel like, are people going to understand? Maybe you feel a little bit behind, but you're running your own race. There's nobody that you're competing with. It's just you becoming the version that you've always meant to become. And I'm really passionate about this work. I'm really passionate about just helping people on their own healing journey. And I've also kind of abandoned myself at times, trying to show up for others because I've always just been a helper. I remember helping my mom, wanting to help her with groceries. We couldn't afford to take a taxi home, so we had to walk quite a distance from the grocery store when I was younger, and I was like 5 years old, and I'm like, I want to help. So she gave me the bread to carry, and she had like 20 million bags in her hands, and I had the bread, and I felt good knowing that I could help her. And I think that I've always just been that person to want to be in this field and really show people or help people get to a place of seeing the version that I see, or maybe that others see that they don't quite see themselves. I don't know if that's the correct thing to say or not, but yeah, healing is definitely, it's challenging, but it's so rewarding, and you feel good. You feel good knowing that you finally set those boundaries. And like, I can't tell you, sorry, I'm just rambling right now, but I can't tell you the times that I was hung up on liking someone and he didn't like me back, or whatever the case was. And now that I'm in this space, I'm just like, wow, Janelle, what did you ever see in him? Because it's just like, I was so busy helping this wounded bird, and this wounded bird was just taking and taking and taking. I'm just like, no. Like, setting boundaries, it's just, you feel it's so clear. And what was once a very like desperate time in your life, it's no longer the case anymore, because you just see yourself in a different light. You see people in a different light. Just even having the friendships, like good quality friends. And I know it's really hard to make friends nowadays. Like, it's really challenging to make good quality friends. Like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know what is happening, but I've been blessed to find good quality friends as I've gotten older. One of my quality friends I met when I was in my like really late 20s going into my 30s. Another friend I met in my 30s, another friend I met in my 30s. It's just, I'm thankful that I have these people in my life. I'm thankful that their substance, and it's like, I give and they give. It's just a solid relationship. And when you get to that place in your life where you can meet solid people, you kind of look back and you're like, man, I was going through it, or the things that I didn't know, and it's not about looking back and feeling ashamed or feeling embarrassed, because I don't feel embarrassed. I don't feel ashamed. I don't feel embarrassed. I just look at my younger self and I'm like, you know what? The things that she didn't know, but she knows now. She knows now. So yes, I just wanted to share with you guys what I wrote on healing. It's a journey. It's not linear. We move forward and then we might move backwards again, and that's okay. That's okay, as long as we are recognizing our patterns, we have that awareness, we have clarity, and we're being intentional about our actions. Even though we're scared sometimes, even though we're nervous, when you start to move forward being intentional with your behavior, it does get easier. I'm telling you, it really does get easier. But initially, it's jarring, it's uncomfortable, and you just want to crawl back and you want to go back to old patterns of behavior. But I'm telling you, that's not the way. I'm really being honest that once you rip that band-aid off, it does get better. And initially, it gets a little, you might feel bad initially, but it does get better. And that's why in what I wrote, I start off by saying sometimes it gets worse before it gets better, but it does get better. And that's something that I'm being very honest with you guys about. I've seen it in my clients. I've seen how they had to like go through the storm in order to get to that calm point. And it was lonely for them. It was, anxiety inducing, and they were angry and they were frustrated, and sometimes they saw the light at the end of the tunnel and then something happened and they're like, oh my gosh, I had a setback. And I would say to them, it's not a setback, life is happening, and you have to manage your emotions around what is taking place right now. It's not about the situation that's occurring, it's how am I going to handle this? How am I going to manage my emotions with this? And that's something that I found that it was really helpful for a lot of my clients, just knowing that it's like, okay, this is life happening. It doesn't mean I'm having a setback. It just means that the situation popped up that I was not anticipating, but how am I gonna move through it? Not around it or underneath it. It's how am I gonna move through it with kindness and compassion to myself. So yeah, I'm sorry, it's just me having a little rambling fest, but I really felt compelled to share what I wrote with you guys, and we will be back to the regularly scheduled videos. So next week I'm going to be posting a video on reparenting, and I hope you guys check it out and like it and subscribe. And yeah, we'll go from there. All right, guys. Bye.